Hi everyone, thank you for watching Color Pop Crochet. This is my number 3 tutorial for the Falling Leaves Crocheted Autumn Trio with this beautiful variegated yarn. So this is the cowl that we're going to be making. It's actually a very easy cowl. So let me go ahead. Oh, and here's another one. I just need to put my little buttons on here. I'm gonna sew them on like right there, I think, probably. But these are the same cowl, just different colors. So this is the one I'm gonna be making right here. So let's go ahead and get started with what we're gonna need. We're gonna need some scissors. I use a stitch marker. This is just paper clip. You don't have to have a stitch marker because we're only gonna need it for one spot. So maybe you can use something else. You can use a safety pin or some sewing pins just to hold the cowl in place where we need it, and then some yarn needles. You'll need your buttons, 2 buttons. These are for the white one. 2 buttons of whatever color you want to put on there. I'm using my variegated yarn. This is Falling Leaves Impeccable Threads, Loops and Threads. I got it at Michael's. And then this brown right here is just brown, and it's Hobby Lobby's. I love this yarn. And that's all you're gonna need. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead with my solid brown color, and I'm gonna just do my slip knot, and then I'm going to chain 20. 2, 3, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And I'm going to turn it and just go in the back posts only. And starting in the second chain from the hook, I'm just going to do a row of single crochets. I know doing your single crochets or your first row within the back loops of your foundation chain can be a little bit tricky compared to just turning it over and going right in here, but I just like the way it gives me this edge right here instead of it just being like a 1 loop or 2 loop edge that does not match the ending of the edge on the other end of the project once it's finished. I just like it to match. So I'm just going to do this as fast as I can. Almost done. Just 3 or 4 more left. Let's see. Then that'll give me 19 chains across, or 19 stitches, because I want an odd number. Alright, last one. Okay, so now that we've finished that, from here I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn. I'm going to do a single crochet in this first stitch right here, and in this second stitch another single crochet. Now I'm going to chain one and I'm going to skip a stitch and then do a single crochet in the next stitch and continue that. Chain one, skip a stitch, single crochet in the next one until you get to the end, and the last two stitches are going to be 2 single crochets. This is just your setup row, your foundation row for your cluster stitch. Okay, so these are the last 2 stitches right here. Just gonna do 1 single crochet there, and in the last one do 1 more single crochet. From there I'm going to chain 4 and turn, and I'm working in these chain 1 spaces to do my cluster stitch. So yarn over, insert into that first chain 1 space, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and do that 2 more times in that same space. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, go through 2, and 1 more time, yarn over, insert into the same space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So now you've got 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4, and then after that chain 1 and continue that all the way down. So next chain 1 space, another cluster, end with 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 and chain 1. Yarn over and chain 1. Alright, so continue that till you get to the end and I'll show you what to do. Alright, I just finished my last cluster. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to do a double crochet into that last single crochet. And that's how our first row of clusters is going to look. So the next row we're going to chain 1, single crochet into this first stitch right here, and single crochet between this right here, and then chain 1 and skip this cluster and single crochet in between the next clusters. Chain 1, skip that cluster and single crochet in between, and just continue that all the way down. You're just chaining 1 and doing single crochet in between the clusters. This is a very fast row, so I'm just going to continue just doing this. Okay, so after I skip my last cluster stitch, I'm going to crochet in between a single crochet right here, and then I'm going to count 3 of these and do a single crochet into the 3rd chain. So chain 4 and turn, and I'm going to do another row of my clusters. So you're just going to do it right on top of the previous cluster in that chain 1 space. Chain 1 and just continue doing your clusters all the way down with a chain 1 in between. So for this specific cowl, I don't count these, like these rows right here, the little chain 1 spaces and the single crochets. I don't count that. So I just count the cluster rows. So for this specific cowl, I'm doing 30 of these cluster rows. So just continue these and these right here until you have 30 of these rows. Alright, I've finished my 30 rows of my cluster stitches, and on the last row I'm gonna chain one and turn, and I'm just gonna do first single crochet into this space right here, and I'm gonna do single crochets all the way down. So I'm gonna do in between here and do a single crochet at the top of each cluster, in between each cluster, and at the top. Top, in between. I'm just gonna finish this pretty fast. There's my last cluster, so top of that cluster, in between this cluster and this chain, and then at the top of the chain 3 right here. Alright, so after you're done with that, I'm just gonna pull this out so it doesn't unravel. Then I'm gonna lay this out, and you want the front of it where you can see the nice front of your clusters. You want that on the back when you lay it out, because you're gonna flip this side here. Let me kind of zoom out a little bit. Gonna flip this side right here, and you're gonna flip this over like this, and I'm actually just gonna put this little bit of edge right over on top of that one. And then I'm going to grab just a safety pin. You can use these if you want, little sewing pins, but I'll grab my little, actually this is a big safety pin, makes it easier. And I'm just gonna put it right here just to hold this side together while I'm stitching the edge around it. So that's just gonna hold that in place. Then I can go ahead and find my yarn loop again, stick my hook in there, and chain one from there. Now I'm going to do this all the way across. I'm just going to do, actually all the way around, I'm just going to do row of single crochets. And I'm going to do this pretty quick because I want to show you what to do when I get to the edge of the other one. Because I want this edge just to be barely on there on the second one. So I'm almost there. Okay, and when I get to the edge, hold on, I'm going to do one more. Now I have, let's zoom in just a little bit. Sorry, wrong way. There we go. So I have the last 2 single crochets right here, and with these, this is where I'm going to overlap on top of here, and that's where I'm going to join. So I'm just going to go in that first single crochet and go in this back part right here and do a single crochet, and this is going to join this cowl together. And then on that last single crochet, go into this back here, and go ahead and do a single crochet. So that's joined those two parts together. Now in each of these big spaces, I'm just going to do one single crochet, and then I'm going to do one into that little hole you see right there. And then one into this space right here. So these really aren't stitches that we're putting or that we're going into with our hook, but we're just creating. We're just gonna put them where we need to. So I'm only gonna do one single crochet in each of these big chain spaces. One single crochet into that little space right there. And then one single crochet into that space. So I'll do that one more time, and then you're just going to do this the same thing, repeat it all the way around until you get back to the end right here. So one into this chain space, one into this little tiny hole right there, and then one into this space right here. And just continue doing this all the way around until you get back to the end of the other end of the cowl, and I'll meet you back then. Okay, so here I am coming up to the end of this round of single crochets, and the last single crochet I did was in this big chain space right here. The next one I'm going to do is in this little tiny hole right here. And on the side of this one right here, I'm going to do two, because we're going to create that corner. So I'm going to do two because there's already one in that space right there. I'm going to do two more single crochets. And that creates that. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and go into the next one and do first single crochet, and then just continue all the way around making another row of single crochets, and I'll meet you back here. Alright, so I'm coming to the end of that second round of single crochets, and this is the first single crochet for this round right here. But I'm gonna do one more single crochet, and from here in between this and the first single crochet there's two single crochets right there. So right now I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to slip stitch into our first single crochet for that round. And the reason I'm doing that is because I need this point to have a little extra room for the rib stitch that I'm going to be doing around. And let me grab my other one real quick. But yeah, after you slip stitch into that first single crochet after you chain 3, go ahead and you can tie your yarn off, because we're going to be switching to our variegated colors. Alright, and then we'll sew in that later. But let me show you why I need that, and I'll show you this real quick. What that is, how that looks so far. And this is the finished one. I just got to put my buttons on it. But this is the rib stitch we're going to be doing all the way around. And the reason I need that chain 3 space right there is to create this point right here with all these rib stitches into that one little space. Alright, so since we've already went and tied that off, you can go ahead and sew that in if you want, but I'm just going to leave it there. Zoom out just a little bit. So from here, we want to find the back point of this. So I'm just going to point this, fold it, just like that, and then lay it sideways like this. Because I want to start, so make sure, you know, you're pointed. That's the very front point. Okay, so I just want to find the back point right here. This is where I'm going to start my ribbing. You can put a little stitch marker there if you want. I'm gonna grab one real quick. It's just a little paper clip, but it works wonders. So I'm just gonna put one right there so you can, makes it easier so you can see where I'm working at. Alright, sorry I had to untangle that yarn before I started. So I go ahead and got my slip stitch on here, and I'm going to start right in that first stitch. So I can just go ahead and take this out, and I'm gonna slip my hook in there, do a slip stitch, and from here I'm going to chain 7. I had to count on the other one, see how many I did. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now if you want a longer rib, you can chain more if you want. I'm going to just do 7. And from here I'm gonna single crochet back, starting in the second chain, so this will give me 6 single crochets all together. So I got 2 more. Okay, so from there, I'm gonna come here, and in my next single crochet right here, I'm gonna do a slip stitch. Just like that, and I'm gonna slip stitch into the next chain, or next single crochet as well. And from there, I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to be working in the back loops only. And do single crochets all the way down. And I'm working in back loops only still. And in that last single crochet, I'm going to work through both loops. Chain 1, turn, through both loops, first single crochet, and then back loops only for the rest of the way. And working in those back loops only, except for at the edge one right here. Those are all going to be worked in both loops, but the rest of them are going to be work in back loops, and that's going to give that ribbed effect. So when you get back to the end, the next stitch we're going to do a slip stitch. And then slip stitch into the next one as well. And continue doing that. So just going to turn our work and we'll show you one more time. It's actually very easy to add rib stitches to your projects. So just turn your work it in back loops only. And last one right here, I'm going to work through both loops. So you would chain one, turn, and continue doing that. And when I get to this corner right here, I'll come back and show you how to work the rib stitches into that corner. Alright, here I am right before I get to the corner in front. So I'm gonna go ahead and I have chain one and gonna do my single crochets all the way down. Alright, so I'm going to slip stitch into this right here. If you can see that little space, stretch it out a bit. So slip stitch into there, and then I'm going to slip stitch into this chain 3 space. And then turn my work and go ahead and finish this row here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be squishing a couple of these rows into that chain 3 space. Okay, one more, and we're only going to slip stitch once into this while for each row that we're working into this, we're going to only slip stitch it once because we want to smush it in there. And then turn, and we want to do 4 of those. Trying to get my, there we go. Sometimes I gotta put that yarn back there so I can figure why it's not going in so easy. Okay, last one, chain 1, turn. Hope I'm not going too fast because you already know how to do that part where you're just doing single crochets in the back loops only, except for this end one. Alright, same thing, we're just gonna slip stitch once into here. And continue turning. You might have to just put your yarn way over here so you can find that first back loop, because when they're smushed in there like that, sometimes it's hard to get to that first one. Alright, chain 1, continue, and continue that. So do 2 more of that same thing. So slip stitch again, and then continue 1 more. And then once you've got all the slip stitches in, then you can go ahead and start. When you get back to this next one, just continue how you've been doing it all the way around. Alright, and I'll meet you at the end and I'll show you how to join. Alright, I've completely went all the way around, and I come back right to this end, and I slip stitch into that one right there, and then went ahead and slip stitch into the same one that this already is in, and I'm going to make 1 more row from that. So let me get this in here. And then I'll be sewing this up to complete this brim, or not really a brim, it's the edging of this cowl, but it's kind of like a brim of a hat. Alright, from here I'm actually going to move that and flip this inside out, because I want my seam to be in the inside of the cowl. I can actually tie that or sew that tail in later. Maybe I'll put it in here just to get it out of my way. There we go. Alright. So I'm just going to go through all 4, so there's 2 stitches right there, or 2 loops, and then through 2 loops on each of those. And I'm going to slip stitch. And I want to tighten that up. Hold on. That wasn't very tight. So let me tighten it up. I like tight stitches. So there's that. And that. Slip stitch. 2 loops there. 2 loops there. And slip stitch. And just continue slip stitching. All the way down. The little tail wants to get in my way. I'm going to finish this off so I can show you the rest of this. And this cowl is actually a very easy cowl to make. Alright, so that's it. I'm gonna pull that out, go ahead and cut my yarn, and tie that off, and then I'll sew that in later. Move some stuff out of my way. Turn this right side out. So the reason I have not sewn this up yet is because you can actually use your buttons and sew. Let me move this. You can sew your buttons on this edge, so put like one right here and one right here, and you can actually use this to as a closure, as a button closure. So they would be sewn onto this one, and then you would, you know, put the buttons, once it's sewn on, you'll put them through these little holes right here, and then that would be a closure. Or you can sew it up and use the buttons as an accent. So to sew it up, you just flip it over, or flip it inside out. And get you a little thread of yarn and just, you know, weave it in and out right here. So there's easy ways to do that. I'm actually going to do this so I can show you. Let me just grab a piece of my brown yarn. And I'm going to grab my yarn needle. To thread it, I'm going to go like this with my needle. Hold it. Pull this down and pinch that yarn in between my fingers. Take my needle out and see it's pinched right there. Then this should slide right through the eye of the needle, and you can go ahead and pull that through. So I'm gonna go ahead and start at the end right here. And I'm gonna actually, let's see if I can make this easier. So I'm gonna go in the inside right here, so I can make this knot at the end of this yarn before I start actually sewing it up, just to get that attached on there. And then I will weave in that tail as well as the rest of them when I'm done. So I want to make sure it's completely straight on there. You can pin it with the safety pin or whatever pins you have. And I'm just going to go right through here. I'll see if go right here. And then you can pick up a stitch. Just some of these top stitches on this bottom part. And then, let's see. Go back up through, just like that. Because you're just going to do a very quick stitch along this to keep this together. So we can do that again. I'm just going to go through, just skip one or so. Go through there. Oh, pull that back, and then just find some stitches along here. Just like that. I'm not even going through to the back here. I'm not doing that. I'm just picking up some stitches along here. Just like that. Pull it back a little and then go right back through there. Just gonna do a couple more, and that we'll have that fastened on there. And one more. So I would just make a little knot right here and then make sure it's secure. I can even tie it with this end right here that I have not weaved in yet. I'll make it really secure and then just weave or sew in my yarn tails somewhere along here. And then flip that back over, and that is completely secure. And then I would sew on my my buttons, just one right here and one right here. So that's exactly how you do it. And there is that absolutely beautiful. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. I would just put one right here, one here. You can actually put one here and here, or you don't have to put any at all. You can maybe even put like a little brooch or pin. And there is your cowl. Oh, I think this is beautiful. And here's my other one I got a sew on. I really love that one. This is more of a winter fall or a winter themed colored one. I just love these so much. They're so beautiful. Alright, I really hope you enjoyed this. Once again, I will have a video hopefully next week. I'm trying to do at least once a week. It's very hard sometimes to get more than that in with a 2-year-old, but I'm going to try my best. And the next video will be posted in my next unboxing video. So I gotta decide on which one I want, and I'll let you know then. Have a good day. Thank you.